Good morning.
Hey, hey there.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Excellent. Nice to meet you.
Likewise, Joe.
So, where are you located?
I'm in Durham, North Carolina.
Okay, right on. Yeah, I hear it's really green down there.
Yeah, it can be green out. That's why I like it. Nice outdoors, you know. Where are you at?
I'm in Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, I had a client in Kansas City. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
You ever been up
Yeah.
here?
Never.
Okay. I've never been to the Carolinas. I need to get down there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very cool.
for sure. Well, it's great to meet you. And, I want to kick off our conversation here by asking you about the last 3 years with COVID. It did its own thing on all of us. How did you get through that time period and how did it change you?
Wow, that is such a great question. So COVID actually turned out to be more a blessing for me, and especially when it comes to my business, because I was able to transfer everything that I was doing online and be able to reach more people. So and so it had a lot of positive effects in that regard. And I would say that we as a family, we homeschool, and it didn't really affect us in that regard. We have twin boys that are 11, so my husband and I were able to still proceed in that manner. So I think that the only way that it did affect me personally would be that I did get the COVID vaccine, and I think that I may have had some side effects, and that's inconclusive, but I would say we can't really prove this, but I didn't have a goiter on my thyroid pre-COVID. It wasn't until after the vaccine, and so I'm not certain, but it definitely is something that's on my mind. Like, did the shot contribute to this issue? So that would be how it's affected me personally.
It's interesting. My son's on the autism spectrum. He has actually a long arm on his 15th chromosome. So it led to developmental delays. He had a seizure right around January of 2021. And I think it was after we got the vaccine. And I've always wondered, actually, maybe we didn't get the vaccine yet. We did get COVID November of 2020. We got it pretty early on. And I'm wondering if that had anything to do with it. And I've wondered that, but we're so close to it. Like the camera hasn't come above the landscape enough yet for us to say boom, boom, boom. But I generally have theories myself on what new variables were introduced into certain things that make certain things happen. And it's interesting. So maybe we'll get
Yeah,
answers.
yeah, 100%. I'm with you. I get it.
So let's get into exactly what you do for a living. And what I want to do is I want to put you in front of a bunch of third grade kids, career day. One of the kids looks up and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Wow, I get to help people feel better, move better, and help them improve the quality of their health, their wellness. And that's what I do.
So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
Yeah, well, in the third grade, I was dancing, and so I think that my mind, I've always been a natural mover. So in my mind, I probably wanted to be a dancer.
So take me back to your childhood. Where were you born and raised? And what were these seeds that made you active and that now make you want to help people?
Yeah. So I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And like I said, I've always liked movement, hiking, biking, you name it. And when I was 4 years old, my mom thought I was hyperactive. So she put me in a creative movement class. And by age 7, I actually had gained weight, and I went to my doctor's appointment, and he said, you need to start exercising and you need to go on a diet. And I was also at that age getting teased. I was getting made fun of a lot. So I carried that shame for quite some time. So my mom put me in ballet, right? And to get more exercise, which I loved from the movement standpoint, but it wasn't the healthiest environment. In terms of it, I developed unhealthy eating habits and had a lot of trouble with my feet and ankles. And by my sophomore year in college, my ankles had pretty much said, I've had enough. After like a lot of pain and seeing a lot of different doctors, I found out I had two joints missing, one in each foot. And so I had to stop doing something that I love. And that kind of made me become really proactive about finding solutions for more ways to move safely.
Yeah.
And that's what I did through education, training, and personal experience.
My stepdaughter has been really was into dance her whole life, and she is a senior now, and a few years ago she stopped dancing and started having issues. I never knew that that was kind of a, I mean, it makes sense. I've been to enough competitions where the way that the body moves is hardcore, and you're pushed to a hardcore extreme all the time. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a
Mhm.
surprise, but it's strange that at that age you can get to the point where you're like a retired baseball player or football player in their 30s that say, I can't do it anymore. Physically, my body won't let me.
Yeah, 100%. And also genetics plays a part in that because the
Yeah.
structure of, let's say, our feet and mechanically, is important, so you definitely have to take all those things into consideration.
So who's been a hero for you in your life?
Wow. So I would say, um, I would have to think about this for a minute. Definitely the dance teachers were somebody, who I looked up to when I was in that environment because of the way they could move or move their bodies. So, that was something to aspire to, early on. But then I think as I evolved, it was probably not just one person, Joe. That's what I kind of was stumped on the question. It was probably a combination of
Sure.
teachers, through my education and, that inspired me to learn and keep learning, and movement mentors. I've studied so many different types of modalities that it's just kind of, those were my heroes because I was learning, and I love to learn.
So let me ask you this. If you could meet anybody alive on the planet right now and spend some time with them, someone that you really are inspired by, who would that be?
I, you know, I think it's for me now, it's more about growing spiritually. And I am a Christian, and so somebody that is walking, and I believe God will place that people in my life and already has, and I am experiencing those things, that I can learn and grow in that direction because, to me that's the most important piece. And so yeah, so that's how I would answer that.
Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you this. What is your daily motivation? Every day you wake up, you have these motivations to help people and to do your work and to achieve what you want to get done. What is that for you?
Well, first and foremost, I start my day in quiet time, in relationship to God, and listening to Him, and reading scripture, different readings, and for me, it's living out what I'm being called to do, and that's what I'm doing because I'm being called to do the work that I'm doing, and so it's not by coincidence. Like my professional experience overlaps my personal experience. And so, um, living one day at a time is very important to me. Staying in the day today, and just listening to, however it's panned out and following those instructions. So that's where I get all my guidance from.
So what has been one of your favorite client success stories? One that
Oh,
always puts a
good.
smile on your face.
Well, a lot of them put smiles on my face. I mean, I
Yeah.
could I could think of a lot, but let me just say, so I'll talk about my client Gloria for a
Mhm.
minute. And Gloria came to me, well, a couple of years ago. She's been doing the complete well body method now for several years, but she had a lot of back pain, and she was on the verge of a surgery, right? And she used to be active. She used to swim, right? She wanted to get back to walking, all those things, but she was in pain. And so we began to, work on implementing all the pillars of pain-free movement. And today, she's doing that. Those are habits, and she's living it out. And guess what? She can travel. She can go to Spain or Puerto Rico and do the things that she loves, because she's doing the work that sustains her body. So that's allowing her to move and be pain free. And that just, brings joy to my heart and mind.
It's interesting. We live in a society now where it's almost as though we put a Band-Aid on health. There's a lot of prescription medications. There's a lot of things that the experts say is the way to do it. But from what you're doing is you're giving people levels of modality and habits that are going to become central to them feeling better. What would be the number one thing in what you do that would be a really good piece of advice for those out there that just genuinely want to feel healthier? What kind of mindset can they change?
So we have to start off small and build a foundation, a strong foundation. And it takes little pieces in building those pieces together. So that's what I would say, is that it can't all be done in one day. There's no such thing as a quick fix. It is a lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle that matters. And everything you do makes a difference. It's building upon those things over time that are going to make the most difference. But we have to start somewhere, and we can start small. And maybe it's taking a walk, and a walk for 10 minutes matters. That makes a difference. Research has shown that can change our health. It can be good for our cardiovascular system, our heart health. So everything we do, even from the standpoint of movement, and movement, by the way, is the key component. Recently, I found this out, for longevity.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Of all of the things that you've done so far and accomplished in your life, what are you the proudest of?
The complete well body method, what I do right now, because it's combined everything that I do and everything I poured my to.
Yeah. So if, let's say, you have a dream tonight and you run into a much younger version of yourself, like in your 20s, you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained so far in your life. What would you tell that young version of you?
To be patient, for sure, and definitely, perseverance is key, and persistence is key, and you can do anything that you set your mind out to do. It's knowing what you want to do, what you're being called to serve, and listening to that, because we're all given inner wisdom, and taking the time to get to know God and develop a personal relationship is key.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you're the one that's living your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, I think I'm Cari Vann, a woman that is blessed. I'm very grateful to be in my skin, and I'm uniquely made. And I was given certain gifts for a reason, and I get to share those gifts. And how lucky am I? Yes, I'm grateful to have all the family and friends that I do, and clients in my life, and so that's what I would say. I feel very blessed and grateful.
Absolutely. So as an outsider here, what's the best thing about living in North Carolina?
Well, like we were talking about, first of all, there's tons of green, and that means I like to move. So hiking,
Yeah.
trails everywhere. And so when I first moved here, because I was from up north, I just did lots of hiking, like every single trail that I could find. So the outdoors, the hiking, I would say that if you like it's hot, it can get hot in the summer, and then we get some cooler, seasons and stuff, but not like up north where it snows. I love the sun and sunshine. So, and it's beautiful blue skies, all of those things.
Yeah. So Cari, if anyone wants to hire you, learn more about you, anything about your world, where can they go?
Movementcraft.com, or they can reach out to Cari, Cari, at movement, the word craft.
Excellent. Cari, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your story. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Take care.